Hey everyone, welcome back to our study on the prophet Amos, the shepherd from Tekoa. And we're in the middle of a large pericope, Israel's punishment and Yahweh's lament, covering chapters 3 through 6. We've finished chapters 3 through 4, Israel's punishment, and we are in the middle of Yahweh's lament. That would cover 5 and 6. So we are still in chapter 5, that will be part of Yahweh's lament, Amos 5:1 through 6:14. And there's the outline that we're looking through. We are in the second bullet point there. Woe for the day of the Lord. That's going to cover 5:18 through 6:7. And in this lesson, we're going to look at 5:18 through 24, which is two smaller sections under that second bullet point. Longing for the day of the Lord and drivel worship. And then next lesson, we'll look at the second part of this bullet point. That'll also be two smaller sections. And then we'll finish up chapter 6 with the epilogue. All right, so this is part 13 of our overall study covering Amos chapter 5, verses 18 through 24. Woe for the day of the Lord, longing for the day of the Lord, and drivel worship. So if you want to pause the video here and read those, go right on ahead. All right, so chapter 5, verses 18 through 20, we're going to look at first. Longing for the day of the Lord. Woe to you who long for the day of the Lord. Amos regards this longing as foolish and elaborates why. And there's a lot of good reason why any of us, even today ourselves, should be very uncomfortable with the day of the Lord. We have our own reasons why. As Christians, we want to spread the gospel. We want to reach out to others and tell them about the goodness of God and His love and what the gospel story truly entails. Hey, we all fall short of the glory of God, and He has prepared a way for us that, in the end, when the judgment comes, we will be found blameless and faultless before the Lord because of what Christ has done on the cross. So, in the meanwhile, here in Amos, they're all like, yeah, the day of the Lord, because we're Israelites, we're all good. We're on His good page, but they've fooled themselves into thinking that the day of the Lord is going to be good for them, but really it is not. Woe to you, Amos says, because you have a false pretensions, false understanding as to what the day of the Lord truly entails. All right, and he asked the question, why do you long for the day of the Lord? All right, and perhaps the question they should have asked themselves to begin with, right from the get-go, when Amos started preaching, hey, this is what's going on, they should have asked these types of questions. Is the day of the Lord something that, I should be excited about or very nervous about? Mainly because they should have looked inside themselves to say, hey, am I doing what God truly wants me to do when it comes to worshiping Him and just, how I live my day in and day out, how I live. And it's something that they should have really contemplated about and thought through, especially now at this point. But still, they continue not to. Amos continues, that day will be darkness, not light. Right, if you recall chapter 5, 8 through 9, God's control of light and who is not. He's the one that's in control and able to do so many things because of the power that He holds. But here, it is used metaphorically for future hope found in God in utter despair in darkness. So, yes, if God in reality has that power to control light, metaphorically, if all this other stuff that has, like drawing up this analogy, the day will be darkness, not light, then yes, God has control even over that, the day of the Lord and what it's going to look like. They can't just make up, basically, they can't just make up what they think the day of the Lord is going to be like for them. God already knows this is what it's going to be like. So therefore, it's not something they should look forward to. Now, the next following verses, the next couple lines are like almost humorous, but in reality, like, that'd be scary. It reads, it would be as though a man fled from a lion only to meet a bear. Escaping the lion is an amazing accomplishment. Unfortunately, the escapee did not see the bear. And just think, like, they're running and looking over their shoulder for this lion that's chasing them, and it's like, oh, it's gone, and they turn forward and there's a bear, and the chase continues. Amos writes, as though he entered his house and rested his hand on the wall, only to have a snake bite him. Say they escape the lion and the bear to hide in the safety of their home, rest their hand on the wall to catch their breath, and, oh, the irony. And it is great irony. They run from the lion, great accomplishment. They run into a bear, they escape the bear, and they finally make it home in the safety of their home, and they're just, I just need to rest, and they put their hand on the wall, and they get bit by a snake. Like, there's no way to hide from the day of the Lord. And running from it is an exemplification of their very character, ones that are revolting and rebelling against the Lord. Now, if you go to Proverbs 28:1, it reads, the wicked person flees though nobody is pursuing, but the righteous are as bold as lions. And here's Amos. He's the one that's being bold and giving this message. He's preaching, hey, you need to turn back to God. And they're the ones that are continuously running. Is anybody chasing them at this point? Just Amos, I guess, if you want to put it into perspective. He's the one he's chasing after them. Hey, return to the Lord. Go back to him. And the Lord is beckoning them, like, hey, come back to me. Don't run away from me. Come to me. And here they are running away as if they can escape the day of the Lord. And Amos continues even more so what it's going to be like. Yeah, you cannot escape it. And what else does it look like? Will not the day of the Lord be darkness, not light, pitch dark without a ray of brightness? The Israelites have a false sense of security in their beliefs, and that had been conditioning them to behave as if they are not liable for any consequences. They believed, as found in 1:3 through 2:16, helps make clear that the day of the Lord was reserved for others and not themselves. But they've categorized themselves with the way that they've been behaving and worshiping the Lord wrongly, and how they've treated their fellow people, that, yeah, they are deserving of it, even though they should not have been. As Amos has made very clear, the Israelites should not long for the day of the Lord. It is going to be horrible. And I love the illustration that he draws up here, that, you're running away from one thing, but you're just going to run into something else. And that is the day of the Lord. You cannot escape it. Everyone is going to be a part of it. All right. Now, the question whether or not that this day of the Lord is something that is eschatological, or is it something that is just for what was going to happen in Israel's near future. For example, when the Assyrians come and attack them and take them into exile and all of that, that's up to debate. I would gear towards it was probably just for them at that time. I don't think it's an eschatological language here. I mean, it's very similar with the day of the Lord and everything, but how everything has panned out from that point on is more about what is going on at their time, instead of end time stuff. While there's similarities, that day of the Lord, the day of the Lord, there's no escaping that as well. But for now, in Amos, I think, my opinion anyway, is that this is not eschatological language. It is, this is what's going on, and it's more beckoning for Israel to return to the Lord, because this kind of stuff is going to happen. And that brings us to the reason why is, we've already looked at a lot of stuff, how they've been treating their fellow persons, and how even worse they are than these other nations. It comes down to how they've been worshiping the Lord. And in verses 21 through 24, this drivel worship, they have 7 wrong acts of worship rightly rejected. All right, so they think, I'm doing all this good stuff and it's okay, but the Lord rightly rejects everything that they're doing. These 7 wrong acts of worship are rightly rejected. So take note that there are 7 acts of wrong worship, 7 accounting for totality. A lot of people might believe that 7, it's the perfect number, it's perfect. And it's not perfect in the sense like it's flawless. It means that it's perfect as in it's complete. Like there's nothing more, nothing less that needs to be added or taken away. So these 7 things are what is just communicating that it's, this is the totality of getting to that point of, yeah, I am rejecting it. This is absolutely wrong. There's not even one good thing about it. And this is how strong the language that the Lord uses here, that Amos relays, that I hate. That is a strong word. In any context, the word hate is a very strong word. Such a strong word to come from the Lord, too, defined as to be an enemy or adversary. And the word I despise, again, a strong language, defined as to be rejected, become vile, or reject. So what is it that the Lord says that he hates, that he despises? It's not the people. And I want to make that very clear. It is not the people that he hates. It's what they are doing. So the first one, your religious festivals. I hate, I despise your religious festivals. And there are a lot to account for. Most prominent, the Feast of Passover and Unleavened Bread, the Feast of Weeks or Harvest, and the Feast of Booths or Ingathering. They had a lot of partying time, I guess, a lot of celebration. These are all joyous occasions to celebrate the Lord, welcoming the whole community to join, including servants, aliens, orphans, and widows, if you refer to Deuteronomy 16:14. But in the meanwhile, as we have learned, what have they been doing to the servants, aliens, orphans, and widows? They've been taking advantage of them and doing whatever they can for their own gain at the expense of all these people. Number 2, your assemblies are a stench to me. The Hebrew for a stench is only used here and in Leviticus 26:31. When they gathered, offered sacrifices, they were more an assault on the Lord. So this smell, it was just like, it's just pungent. It's just like that kind of smell, like maybe it's like just knives going up into your nostrils or something. It is just repulsive. Number 3, even though you bring me burnt offerings, all right, these burnt offerings would consist of the entire offering, nothing being left over for the priest. But what have they been doing? They've been keeping some for themselves. All right, so these types of offerings are supposed to be the whole entire thing, nothing left over, only for the Lord, and to show that reverence and that awe and that dedication and trust ultimately. But no, instead they keep a lot of it to themselves. And number 4, in grain offerings, I will not accept them. The sweet aroma was often a result of grain offerings. And, usually, meat, it smells good, however it might be seasoned. But it's these grain offerings that when they were sacrificed, it would give this sweet aroma. And it's something that's so pleasant. And in fact, any type of incense would also include certain elements such as that to give that sweet aroma. And this is something that the Lord is saying, even those sweet aromas, I am not accepting them. And number 5, though you bring choice fellowship offerings, I will have no regard for them. Like, I'm not even going to pay attention to them. A fellowship offering or peace offering, the worshipers are able to eat. God giving no regard, literally not looking at, is a result of their wrong worship. Earlier, it had been labeled as a transgression in chapter 4, verses 4 through 5. So he does not even want to acknowledge the fact that they're doing that. That's how much he hates it. I can't even look at it. Number 6, away with the noise of your songs. He not listening. Like he's not even going to turn his ear towards those songs. Away with carries a sense of urgency, either for their own good or that God so despises their songs that he does not want to have to hear it. I get the sense of, like, when you're in school or wherever you might be, when they have to have a fire drill. And it's like, you don't know when it's going to happen. And then when it happens, it's like, oh, that noise is just, it's piercing my ears. And it's like, it's a good thing that it's a fire drill, because we get to leave the building so we don't have to listen to it, because it's hurting my ears. It's so loud. And that's the kind of image that Amos is drawing up here, that it's such a horrible sound to the Lord that he hates it so much that he can't even listen to it, because with an image such as that urgency of just getting out of there. The noise is not the sound of the songs either, but rather a commotion, implying that they were putting on an orchestration, that everyone was performing their own role, all from various numbers. Now think of we all have this special song that we want to give to the Lord, and let's all play them all at the same time. And it's just like, it's horrible sounding. It just doesn't make sense. There's no rhythm. Everybody's off key. Everybody's playing in a different key. It's just not a pleasant sound. The songs may not have consisted of an instrumental performance. So the image here is, they might be singing, maybe even announcing, hey, I'm giving this offering, and look at me, what I'm doing, and, gathering everybody's attention. And it's like, oh, I want that attention too. So they're going to do that as well. And everybody starts putting in their opinions, I guess, and bringing in their own songs to get that attention. All the more reason why the Lord hates it. It's for their own gain. It's for their own attention, and not for glorifying the Lord. And number 7, I will not listen to the music of your harps. Pointless performance. All right. So earlier, it's their voices, it's their announcements and all of that. And now it's getting to the actual music. That God will not listen, the Hebrew to not perceive, implies that there is no pure motive. The music differs from the songs in that they are instrumental, here accompanied with harps or lyres. Generally speaking, stringed instruments. All right, so this music that they're bringing about is just absolutely horrible, and like what it said in the beginning, he hates, he despises it. Very, very strong language. When people come to worship the Lord with that motive, it's drivel worship to the Lord. He hates it and despises it. But on the flip side, what should this worship look like? And this is what Amos is getting into now. With a resounding but let justice roll on like a river. All right, to do justice is to be the advocate for the powerless. And who does that include? The widows, orphans, the poor, all of which the Israelites had been taking advantage of and demoralizing. And the stranger or sojourner would also be included. The aged as well, young and old, everybody's going to be included. This justice is supposed to roll on like a river, and they've not been doing that. In fact, we've already learned in the previous lessons that they despise people who will speak truth. They don't like anybody that's going to work towards justice, because that is going to go up against everything that they want to gain. All right, this justice is to roll on, that is to commit. Now, if something is rolling, it's going to continue to roll. It's not a square that's going to stop. But this, and that's not the image that's being drawn up here. This roll on, because it's like a river, it's going to continue. And where does it go to? It continues to go down into the ocean. And that's not the image either, but they look at this river and it continuously flows. All right, there's no famine there. There's no drought. This river continues and continues on. If you want to take a little bit and study, or at least just contemplate and meditate on Ezekiel chapter 47, go and do that and see what kind of river this is that Amos is looking at here. The river is water or liquid, indicating the nature of fluidity. in this metaphor of how justice should be exemplified. There should be nothing stopping justice. Let it roll on. And he continues, righteousness like a never-failing stream. Remember, only righteousness comes from God. The image of this stream is never failing or consistent, steady. Here it is implied to be eternal. The stream is likely an image of a wadi that Amos uses here, a dangerous and sometimes torrent water flow that made traveling through difficult and sometimes fatal. And if you ever look at just look up what a wadi it looks like and what it could be. It could include waterfalls, different branches. Think of like, okay, here's a river, but then a wadi would just like kind of branch off in different areas, including areas that could be muddy and getting stuck in and stuff, depending on what kind of wadi it turned into. So this is the stream that he's, this never failing stream that he's looking at. It cannot be contended against. The illustration here is that righteousness is an element that wickedness cannot bear to contend with. This is the kind of justice. This is the kind of righteousness that the Lord wants to see among his people. And it is something that as a Christian, as a believer in Jesus Christ, that is the same kind of exemplification that he longs for his people to do justice, give justice, and this righteousness that, as it comes from God, let it go into us and out to others. And that is the type of worship, right? It's not just the Christian conduct, this is worshiping the Lord. This is how we give honor and reverence towards the Lord, that, because he has justified us, we should also bring that justice to other people. Because he has given us righteousness, we should offer that righteousness to others as well. And that is our act of worship. As for Israel, no, this was all just drivel worship. What they've been doing has just been putrid in the eyes and the nose and in the ears of the Lord. So as we go into the questions for reflection, think of how we worship and how the Lord would perceive us as we live out our lives in worshiping our Lord. All right, so here are the questions for reflection. Do I foolishly long for the day of the Lord? What should I do as I wait for the day of Christ's return? How do I conduct myself in response to that day approaching? When I engage in worship and praise corporately and privately, would the Lord see anything similar to what is presented in this pericope? Would it be a pleasing aroma? When I worship the Lord, is there a sense of justice? Is there a sense of righteousness? Am I intentionally allowing myself to be vulnerable before the Lord to be made justified and righteous? And thank you for listening in, and we'll see you out there. God bless.